What is up and how's it going to another episode of the Noble Steady Sort of Sports Talk? It is episode 14. Joey, how you doing tonight?
That was my college number 14. It is a great
There.
night. It's football night.
It is definitely football night. We were coming to you recording live before the Thursday night football game between the Bucks and the Falcons. It's going to be a good game, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Amazon, I'm sure, is definitely begging to have a good game on there for once.
Hopefully they both lose.
Well, that would be a tie, Joey. And no offense, I would much rather not see that because I do have money on this game.
That's fair.
Either way.
You have money line?
I do have money line. How would that work, though? Right? Like if you took a team,
you still lose
at like 3.5 plus 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you would still lose, right?
Yeah, because so I know with with soccer because it's an outcome. If I bet Liverpool money line and they tie, they didn't hit. So
yeah, but that's different. They specifically call out ties.
You can draw in that, but still
and
you
draws.
Can technically tie in football, and that's also a bet. You can bet a game will end at a tie.
That's very true. I'll just spitballing there. It's a good question though. Something I just randomly thought off the top of my head. But Joey, I know unfortunately we got to get some sad news. This past weekend, our poor Saints, lost a heartbreaker. I mean, an absolute heartbreaker to them dang dirty birds, the Atlanta Falcons. 26-24 on the last second 58-yard field goal from Young Ho Kim, whatever his name is.
Younghoe Koo.
Younghoe Koo, that's what it is.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Because everybody at the household I was at was going, his name is Young Ho. I said, no, it's Younghoe.
Well, I don't know. My wife gets angry at me every time I have a kicker on my roster named Young Ho, so I have to get rid of it.
Was going to say that's the joke in the Fantasy Football League. Don't tell my wife I have a Young Ho on my team.
I feel like it's been passed around a good bit for other people. But yeah, man, it's sad. There's obviously some questions on play calling, and I think you know the instance I'm talking about by the goal line. So let's start there.
How do we go? How can we not break it into
jump
the
balls
for one?
You know what I mean? Like it reminded me of last year.
It's like every little thing. It's like they try to make the play. Mm-hmm. They're trying to make the play. Shaheed tried to make the play. Why? Why are you going for that?
And I think that's the most frustrating thing. What Joey's referring to is the muff punt at the beginning of the game that Shaheed muffed and they end up recovering for a touchdown. I think that's the most frustrating thing, too. It was really two fluky plays that they got 14 points off of. That, I mean, clearly would have been 12 points we allowed, right? And one would have won 24-12. Wouldn't you? What I'm referring to is the tip pass interception and the muff punt that Joey just referred to. And you can look on the replay. Carr tried to get around the guy. The guy just made a great play. You know, it's Matthew Judon. He's one of the best in the league. And when that ball pops up in the air, you know this, Joey. It's anybody's ball game at that point. And
I won't so much give. I won't give that one. I mean,
no.
He tried to squeeze it in there. It just.
There's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot that goes in there. I want to say the announcers did a really good job of kind of explaining how Matthew Judon kept his hands down, so the offensive lineman couldn't engage him to, pretty much block his hands from going up. That, and then it didn't give Derek Carr an idea of where he was trying to go. Like, is he trying to go like out to the side? Is he trying to go up? So it was a guessing game, and as a savvy player by a really, really, really good defensive player.
Yeah, he did. He made the play that needed to be made. And
exactly.
Like I said, I don't totally put that on our team's mistakes. It just happened to be a good play. But
for sure.
Still at the end of the day, you can't go for the punt at the 2. You're not going to make a play there. Just let it go. And then Paulson Adebo getting called for that pass interference at the end of the game to set them up for that field goal.
I mean, that was 100% pass interference, so he nearly decapitated the guy.
No, I agree with the fact that.
Okay. I thought you were saying
no. I'm saying that was pass interference. I'm saying, why are you grabbing on him like that? Like, what are you doing? Like, you got beat. At least, like, make him make that mistake. Just jump in the air, distract him somehow.
let me tell you, he was dang. I will give Debo credit. He was dang close to deflecting that ball, and if he would have touched that ball first, it would have been by letter of the law. It wouldn't have been a penalty.
Yeah,
He was close. He was. It was just
by letter of the law. You got to depend on who's the sheriff on that one.
Very true. Very true. Sorry. Stay hydrated, everybody.
John Hussey was the referee for that. So.
Oh, I'm aware. I'm aware. It's.
I just laughed because his name is Hussey.
I just noticed that myself. That's the thing, man. You know, you also just can't let your team get into that position as well. There's a few opportunities we had to put this game away, or at least give ourselves a little more cushion. Like, I mean, hindsight's always 20/20, but you kick the field goal, you take the points, you're good there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we win by 1, and it's the second week in a row where, I don't know, taking the points may have been the better call. Like, I like being aggressive, but man, like, you got to have to me, if you're gonna have a 4th down play or like a go for it on goal line play kind of thing, you have to have a set of plays that you're like, this is our bread and butter. These are what worky. Like, it's gonna work every time, regardless, right? Like, the tush push used to be for the Eagles, like locked and loaded. They got within 2 yards of the first down. You're like, okay, well, they're gonna get the first down here. You're basically having to hold 8 yards, and that's what it kind of. I'm not saying we have to get to that point, but at least have a decent play, not a jump ball in the end zone.
It's frustrating. Like, this team is so much better than their record. But I think,
or are they?
I think in all honesty, the injury bug is starting to kind of creep its way in.
Yeah.
So you have Taysom Hill. They said today he fractured ribs. You got a lot of people out with like groin injuries and
a lot of soft tissue this year.
Yeah, a lot of soft tissue injuries. But I don't know if you're ready to make the move on to the next topic within the Saints, but there's a certain possible wide receiver.
Let's wrap this up real quick, and then because I do want to talk about what you think compensation should be, and B. But let me wrap this up real quick.
Yep.
We have the Chiefs coming into town. We are going to the Chiefs for Monday Night Football.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little worried, and then I'm not. The Chiefs are dealing with a lot of injuries, but it's still going up against Andy Reid on the road. I have a feeling this is going to probably be on the lower side. I haven't seen the numbers yet on the over-under or anything like that. But if I had a game prediction, I'm saying 20-17. I'm not giving a team, but that's the kind of feel I have that the way this game's going to go. And unfortunately, I feel like the Chiefs are going to win just because they've reached that echelon of team where they're kind of Brady-esque Patriots, right? Or Joe Montana 49ers. Like, they're never out of a game, and you kind of have a feeling of like, oh, here we go again.
So I agree with you on the fact that they're that Brady-esque where, you know, they're getting all the calls. But I will say that multiple games that they have played have come down to that last drive. If we win or lose, it's not going to be like the Cowboys game where you're going to find out in the first half who won. It's going to be that last drive, who's winning. Right now, FanDuel has the Saints at +5.5, or Chiefs at -5.
Wow. Really? Okay.
So, and the over-under is 43.5.
See, that seems about right for me. They're guessing 22-21, something like that.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, I think the score, it may come down. It's going to come down to a last-second play, a last drive. And it could be like one team takes the lead, lets their foot off the gas, and the other team just takes off. But if I had to pick something, I think they would hit the over.
Okay.
Depending on how the injury bug falls, I would say 24-22.
Okay.
I'm not going to pick a team either.
It's just
going to fall,
game, right?
Yeah.
I think the 5.5's a lot of points.
It's going to fluctuate. It'll probably come down. It'll probably go. Honestly, it might go up a little bit. I think it'll go to 6.5.
I mean, if it goes 6.5, 7.5, I'm going to take that all day. All day.
I mean, the way I just said the score, I would take the Saints +5.5.
I mean, I don't feel bad doing it, but I feel a heck of a lot more comfortable doing it
Let
at
me
5.5.
let me ask
I
you
mean, at
this
6.5.
question. Let me ask you this question.
Mhm.
So when you see like, okay, ESPN has a score,
Mhm.
like the thing on the bottom, like here's the game coming up.
Mhm.
Is it that they say the spread is 5.5? Or would they say like the Saints are 5 at plus 5.5, the Chiefs are minus 5.5?
So they'll say like favorite. So they'll say like Chiefs are 5.5 point favorite, or they'll say something like they're giving the Saints 5.5.
Even though it technically means the same thing, or is that just like Vegas says this is the smart bet?
There's just different terminology, right?
Okay.
To how it's going. Like whether they're saying Chiefs to lay the points, Saints to give the point. Like it's saying all the same thing of whether you think the Saints are going to keep it within 5.5 or if the Chiefs are going to beat them by more than 5.5. It's all it means.
Okay.
Yeah, it just goes to gut. Like so, the rule I kind of live by is if it's an NFL game, anything 3 and under, it's kind of I shouldn't
That's a
say
toss up.
anything 2 and under. I mean 2.5, that kind of thing. 3.5, 2.5 kind of thing. Kind of a toss up. Because I was always been taught that Vegas usually leans 3 points for a home team.
Mm-hmm.
We usually give 3 points. So when I kind of see that number, it's kind of like a give me or a pick 'em. But when I see anything like 5.5, 6.5, that means a lot of people are laying money on a certain team, right? And that's where
Which
the
they're probably laying it on the Chiefs.
and look, I get it. Nationally,
Just based on the last 2 weeks. I mean,
last
and
2
here's the
weeks,
thing. I don't know that the Saints they've played to their opponent. Would you say that certain mistakes have basically cost the Saints games? Did they, what happened with
Rashid Shaheed and
Rashid Shaheed? With the Eagles, it was we just couldn't stop Dallas Goedert, and maybe we went for it on 4th down when we should have taken the points, like that kind of stuff.
was a lot. There's a lot of hindsight 2020. Now, see, these 2 games to me were completely different.
I'm researching something really quick, so continue.
Yeah, go ahead. These 2 games, the last 2 games have been completely different. The Eagles game, we got completely dominated. The score doesn't show that, but we got completely dominated. Time possession, yardage, length of drives. Like it was just insane. And the fact that we were in it to that point was just because Nick Sirianni decided to try to go for it 3 times on 4th down and not make it, 2 or 3 times not take the points. So that's one thing there. And then they finally were able. The defense couldn't hold any longer. Now that I give a lot to Eric McCoy being out, and we just could not. We didn't have any preparation for that whatsoever. Last game, we shot ourselves in the foot. Penalties, like as we talked about, the 2 big turnovers, as we talked about. I mean, that's 14 points right there. They're going for it on 4th down. We could have 3 points. That wins us the game. You know what I mean? There's a lot of give and take there. I do feel like we played better last week, for sure. I'm very concerned about the offensive line, though.
So this is my research I just did,
Mhm.
and it's going to be more of a trivia question to you. We're 2-2.
Yep.
Where in the NFL is our point differential ranked?
It's got to be towards the top because of the first 2 weeks, and then we only lost the last 2 games by 2 and 3 points respectively. So it has to be top 5, if I had to guess.
We are tied for first.
Yeah.
With the undefeated Minnesota Vikings at plus 57.
All right. And can I say this now real quick about the Minnesota? Go ahead. Finish your point.
Are you surprised? Yes.
Very much so.
Very much so.
But I'm going to say now, this year has shown me more than any year, coaching is key. Like, look at the Minnesota. Like all these really good teams.
I'll say look at Atlanta. Atlanta was really realistically they were 1 play away from beating the Chiefs.
Yep.
So they could easily be 3-1 right now going into this game against Tampa, who is also 3-1.
Joey, they haven't put it together yet. That's the thing about Atlanta.
Yeah, they're still trying to work it out. But in all honesty, like coaching by far has more to do with that's what drives me nuts about some of these sports where it's, we talk to the player about, the coach. It's like, dude, the coach has it. Like the coach brings you the plays. It brings you the program. You're sitting there as a player, what are you like? Why are you telling me whether or not I should keep this guy? It gets to a point where we're starting to, maybe this is starting to flip that coin of, oh, who's truly in charge? Like Aaron Rodgers with the Jets,
Yep.
Tom Brady with the Bucks. Like
Yeah. No, I mean totally,
what's
dude.
what's to say that why are we listening to these players even more?
Well, it just shows time and time again. It's an entire team, right? Like it's a whole organism almost. Like, not to sound really kind of weird about it, right? But it's just one of those things where the whole has to be good, not just certain parts, right?
Right.
It is a team game. And yeah, hats off to Sam Darnold though for resurrecting his career.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like him and Baker from that draft class.
I still think
fascinating to me.
Baker Mayfield to me, I'm happy that he's finally starting to get his recognition for how good he can be. Because I'll be honest, when he was at Cleveland, it was okay, whatever. But he was rushed because Taylor got hurt. Say what you will. A year, I mean, what was it? Week 4? He went
for
in.
Him?
Yeah.
It was like week 2, week 3.
Yeah. They threw him in.
early on.
Hugh Jackson wanted to save him for the year. Didn't want to. He's like, we're just going to rest you. We're just going to rest you. He got rushed. So then he just kind of fell out. Well, then, put him in
a good run.
Put him in a system where he can just. They give him enough rope to mess himself up, but he's showing that he's fine.
I mean, look at it. He went from the Browns to the Panthers, which was awful. Then went to the Rams, and so on that Thursday night, lit it up.
Didn't he go to the Rams first? Then he went to the Panthers.
Okay, all the way. They cut him. And
that's right.
They waived him. He goes to the Rams, and then finds a home in Tampa where he was like, "Oh, he's got to replace the GOAT," and dude did great. You know what I mean? Like, as a Saints fan, I wish we would have signed him instead of Derek Carr. But
I still think Derek Carr, the more I think about it, yeah, he's making his mistakes, but he's not the same Derek Carr as last year.
Well, no, like you said multiple times last time, we're not running an offense from 2008 anymore. Yeah. But the thing with Carr is, and I'm just going to say this now, and it's going to sound like a knock. It really isn't a knock. It's more of just a reality of what it is. He needs everything to go right. Is that a fair assessment? Like, he's not going to elevate you, but he will definitely, how do I put this? He'll definitely execute an offense the way it needs to be, but he's not going to be the X factor to raise you above.
He'll do what gets the job done. But if you need him to go above and beyond by a lot, you're looking in the wrong direction.
I just feel like the ceiling's lower and the floor is very low for Carr, if that makes sense.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's like he'll have these monster games like he did at the end of last season, but it's not sustainable with him sometimes, at least from what I've seen. And
they said something like going into week 3, and that's even pulling in the end of last year, he was the best quarterback statistically.
That's what
in
I'm
the
saying.
NFL.
It was like the last 6 games.
It was the last 6 games in the first 2 games this year. So,
but you had in the Panthers who sucked. That was at least 2 games in there. You add in it. Look, there's a lot of circumstantial stuff, and I'm really not trying to poo-poo Derek Carr. I've come a long way since calling him an eyeliner Kirk Cousins. Okay,
he doesn't wear eyeliner. His mom just wished for a kid with really light eyes, and that's what happened.
Yeah, sure. Keep telling yourself that.
That's what he said. He said that on PMT.
Sure. And I'll see him in Hot Topic all the time, fucking buying his eyeliner.
And then he said it. And then he said it somewhere else. I think he said it on Cam Jordan's podcast.
I don't care. There's no way that's natural. I'm sorry, not that dark. Like without some kind of birth defect happening there. Okay.
Maybe he's just got really dark eyelashes,
or maybe he just wears really dark eyeliner.
That's
who knows? My Chemical Romance over here. Anyway, but yeah. So let's jump into it. Speaking of Derek Carr. His former college roommate has requested a trade, Mr. Davante Adams. So the rumor is that he's requested the Jets and the Saints.
Why would
I don't
you?
know
Why would you
how,
request the Jets?
because Aaron Rodgers. He played with Aaron Rodgers for a long time.
The Jets, Jets, Jets.
I stand by my statement. I really do. Dude, think about it. He goes in, he knows Rodgers. He's the number one receiver automatically because Garrett Wilson has, and this isn't, I really feel like I'm being negative here in this episode, but I'm really not trying to be.
Negative net over here.
Huh?
It's a negative net over here.
I know. Because Garrett Wilson has just shown through this year that he may not be an alpha one, number one wide receiver, like top 5 is what I mean. He could be a number one receiver on a team. It's just there's like some film out there when he gets pressed the line of scrimmage. Sometimes he can get a little washed out and everything when man coverage happens. He's great against zone. Man, he struggles a little bit. Look, not a complete knock. It's just the truth of what it is. But you get Devontae Adams over there that has a rapport with Rodgers, it'd be a quick transition, right? And add the weapon to the offense, like Garrett Wilson slide into number 2 role and probably produce more as well. Now with the Saints, I'd say he's the instant number 1 wide receiver again. I love Chris Olave. I'm a Chris Olave apologist to the death of me. I just think Devontae Adams just has that natural like dog mentality, right? Like I'm the alpha of this receiving room. And I think it'd be a great addition to the room. The only issue is how do we make the money work? And because he's going to want a new contract. That has been said that he wants a new contract. And then B, if a new contract is required and they're not taking any money back, the draft compensation's got to be lower, like a 4th round pick, 3rd or 4th.
I've seen where we could give up a second for him, which I'd be okay with if he wants to sign and he wants to do a team friendly deal.
Best thing, is he going to do that?
Right. It's a lot
or
of
the
it
Raiders
depends.
would have to eat some money. Is another thing that could possibly happen. It's just really hard when we have, I think, $7 million in cap right now.
Oh, I knew that number a couple days ago.
I want to say it's somewhere around there. And I mean, he doesn't. It's just. I mean, look, Mickey Loomis is a freaking magician with the cap, so I don't have any doubt in that. What we can't happen is have a Ricky Williams trade happen.
No.
We look a 2nd round pick and maybe then some. I can live with.
We have $4,573,865 in cap space.
So even lower than what I thought.
Yeah.
So Joey, let me ask you. We have already established you would give up a 2 for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you give up a 1 at this moment in time for Devontae Adams?
Would I give up a 1 for Devontae? If I knew that.
Now remember,
if Vegas would eat some of that cap because they have $27 million in cap space. If they could eat some of that cap, I'd give up a 1.
All right, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
If I know that we can get him, have Vegas eat some of that cap hit, and I know we'll be a late 1st round pick, I'm okay with getting rid of it.
You don't know that though. At this moment in time, right? You don't know that. So to me, the 2nd round pick is the highest.
It would have to be conditional. I think it'd have to be conditional.
And that could work too.
If we make the playoffs, it's a 1st round pick. If we don't make the playoffs, it's a 2nd round pick.
And I can live with that as well. And that I'd be okay with. I feel like that's the only time I'd be okay with it. Ideally, though, the only thing that worries me about giving up a 1 is that we've done a lot of moving. We've done a lot of finagling in the draft. Maybe not in the last few years, but we've done some damage to our stockpile of talent in reserves. So that would be the only thing that made me hesitant. But look, you're at a number 1 receiver. Easy a number 1 receiver. If you feel like that's the missing piece, then go ahead. But I would be you got to remember you're paying for a 31, almost 32-year-old wide receiver. So what are you paying for? 1-2 more years? You paying for a half a year? Like, you see what I'm saying? You have to have faith that it's going to be.
What's the return you're getting on your investment?
Exactly. Now, let me put it this way: if the Saints had Devontae Adams, are they a Super Bowl team?
if we can have our offensive line play like week 1 and 2, yes. Like get to the Super Bowl, yes.
Yeah. So I mean,
Who
that
we
would be the thing.
play?
So if you get if you trade for Devontae Adams, I'm just gonna, and then we'll just move on to some other stuff.
Mhm.
If you get Devontae Adams, what to you is a successful season? If you trade we'll even say a 1. If you would trade a 1 to Devontae for Devontae Adams, what is a successful season?
NFC Championship game.
That's
At
what I was saying.
least.
You
At
have that or
least.
bust.
Yeah.
Because this type of move, I feel like you're putting all your chips in the middle of the table.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so, okay, yeah, we're on the same page on that one. Like, if you do that,
If we get Devontae, it has to be at least an NFC Championship game.
The NFC is just so loaded, though. So that'd be interesting. I'm glad we talked about that. So we talked about the Chiefs. Kind of both have our feelings about how we think it's going to be a tough game, but closer than the spread has it going right now. Some more injuries continue to pile up in the NFL. I mean, we even got quarterbacks taking out their own wide receivers now in Kansas City. I mean, I know we say this every year, but to me, it just seems like all these injuries are just crazy. The amount we're having this year,
it's insane.
Yeah, like you were saying earlier, soft tissue injuries are way up. Like, so I mean, that may be a thing of people just not playing in the preseason and still trying to get their legs underneath them. But I mean, you got Christian McCaffrey somehow going to Germany, and his Achilles soreness went to the other leg as well.
I tell you what, I don't know that he makes it out this year.
They say November would be the earliest.
No, I think after this year, he's done.
Ooh. I don't know. It could be. As selfishly as a dynasty manager of Christian McCaffrey, I hope not, just so I can get some kind of return on that investment. But yeah, no, it's been a kooky year, man. I mean, who would have thought the Rams would just be completely decimated by injuries? Who else? The Bengals would be 1-3. The Buccaneers would be 3-1. Like, it's just been a crazy year so far. Is there anything else NFL wise you want to jump on before we move ahead?
No, I'm good on that one.
All right. Well, keeping it in New Orleans, kind of like one more little tidbit information. We do have basketball starting up soon. Preseason, everything like that. Go Pels. Some bad news there. Seems like Trey Murphy has strained his hamstring and will be out at least 3 weeks. We're hoping he'll be back before too long, but he'll be reevaluated then with a hamstring strain. So I guess that solves our BI problem for right now.
Yeah.
So I guess that kind of works out, but it'll definitely be something to keep an eye on.
I also saw that the first couple games of the preseason are going to be streamed on the Pelicans app.
Yes.
And I think they kind of hinted at it in an article that came out this morning about how you can watch the Pelicans games. I think they may be streaming the games for the regular season as well.
I think so. It's going to have to be an antenna. I know that.
I think I know it's an antenna, but I think I saw that the same app that the Utah Jazz use and I think the Phoenix Suns use, I think they have something involved with the Pelicans. I could be wrong, but I definitely, when I read the article this morning, it definitely said that.
The way they kind of
streaming, they said streaming was going to be involved. And I'm like, if that's the case, I don't need an antenna. But
yeah, I don't have to go buy an antenna now. Yeah.
Don't hold me to that. Still go buy an antenna. It's good to have anyway.
That's a nice little backup,
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, so I mean, that's kind of our thing with the Pelicans. We'll be doing a lot more with the Pelicans as the season progresses with them. But Joey, is there a certain thing you would like to talk about in your area of expertise that's been going on?
So since we're talking basketball, we're going to talk about the GOAT. We're going to talk about the GOAT.
All right. We're not trying to start anything, but let us know who you think the GOAT is in the comment section. Okay.
Michael Jordan, former owner of the Charlotte Hornets, sold his stock in the Charlotte Hornets, sold all of his shares, every part of it he owned, to start a NASCAR team. I say to start a NASCAR team. He'd already owned it at that point. But just to kind of go full bore. He went full bore. 23-11 with number 11 in NASCAR, Denny Hamlin. They announced that they and Front Row Motorsports are suing the governing body of NASCAR and Jim France for monopolizing the sport. You may be wondering what that means. So
No, it's antitrust, right?
in a joint statement, 2311 and Front Row Motorsports said, "We share a passion for racing, the thrill of competition, and winning. Off the racetrack, we share a belief that change is necessary for the sport we love. Together, we brought this antitrust case so that racing can thrive and become a more competitive and fair sport in ways that will benefit teams, drivers, sponsors, and more importantly, fans." Some of the things that they accuse NASCAR of being a trust or being a monopoly: buying a majority of premier racetracks that are exclusive to NASCAR races, imposing exclusivity deals on NASCAR sanctioned racetracks, acquiring Automobile Racing Club of America or ARCA, the only notable stock car racing series competitor, which I don't really ever saw. I've never seen that as a competitor.
I've never heard of them being a competitor.
It's basically like, oh, you race an ARCA. Your next step is the Craftsman Truck Series. Your next step after that is the Xfinity Series. Your next step after that is the Cup Series.
Oh, so
that's how I've always seen it.
So essentially single A.
Basically. But
gotcha.
It's never, they used to never be
affiliated.
Like there was the ARCA governing body and then the NASCAR governing body. NASCAR acquired ARCA, and so now it's in that umbrella. They also said that teams cannot participate in any other stock car races while also retaining ownership over next-gen parts and cars, which the current car is called the next-gen car. NASCAR forces the teams, which is the next thing, forcing teams to buy their parts from a single source supplier chosen by NASCAR. So you can't go to this other company to get your control arms. You have to go to NASCAR. You have to go to NASCAR for the body panels. You have to go to them for all the parts of the engine, the transmission, the transaxle, all that stuff. You cannot go anywhere else but where they tell you to go.
Can I interject real quick?
Go for it.
Just a question. Now is that, I feel like that, so I could see where that could be an issue. Don't get me wrong. It's like starting a franchise, right? Like if you start a fast food franchise, they tell you where to buy all your stuff. To me, and that's just to keep the ingredient integrity. To me, that almost sounds like a safety thing with NASCAR, though, of why they're requiring you to buy the stuff here. Or is it a money grab?
So
just somebody that's not as familiar.
It's more a money grab because so what the teams did with this car was it was meant to be almost like an equal playing field. Like it was this is a way that, you don't have that competitive pricing to where like, oh, they just have access to better stuff. I see where they were going with it. Like the Hendrick Motorsports of the world are here. Okay. Hendrick Motorsports, Joe Gibbs.
Yeah.
They're up here. Then you have like RFK, Front Row, and RCR. Then you have Rick Ware, Stuart Haas is somewhere there, Rick Ware, like those kind of teams. It basically made it to where it went from this, the competition field went from this to this was what they were going for.
So they wanted people,
right? The problem is all the cars drive the same. Nobody can buy, you can't build your own parts. When they were building their own parts, they were carrying more speed, which then made them have to get off the gas a little longer, which created racing. But now it's just, there's tracks that they go to, they just hold it wide open and go. And it's like, okay, so there's no passing.
Okay. So it takes some of the intricacies out of it.
It takes some of the enjoyment out of it.
Okay.
Because
this is me, I just don't know, right?
Yeah, no, that's why we're having this conversation. But it used to be teams would make their own parts. They'd find some kind of competitive advantage here and there. It might be, oh, we found if the splitter was at this height or it was like this deep, we could do this. Like we could go a 10th faster, or, if like we built the body a certain way, we could get air off the rear spoiler to get a little more speed, that kind of stuff. You can't do that anymore. You are stuck. Like the box went from this to this. You have to operate in this box.
Man, it almost takes the engineers out of it too.
Oh, there were so many people who lost a job because it went from, find me an advantage everywhere to this is our box. Here's your part. Just put it together.
Outside line.
That's it. Yeah. And they tried and failed. They also have this thing. It's called the charter agreement, which is what like the teams basically aspire to have. It's basically like a franchise. Okay. There's 36 available. If you operate with a franchise, with a charter, you get more money.
Okay.
But if say we started a team and we're an independent team, if we go out there and finish 20th, we're getting less money than the team that finished 21st who has a charter.
Wow. That's messed up. But I get it.
And they did it so that the teams would make money.
Yeah.
There was a team, I want to say it was 2017.
Okay.
Won the drivers' championship. Shut its doors the next year after that season.
Just
because they weren't making money. They're not making money. So
that's going to cause any business to fail.
They were a satellite team for Joe Gibbs Racing, and were consistently beating Joe Gibbs Racing with their own equipment.
That's hilarious.
So
little brothers beating
up big brother. A little more. Yeah, I think there's a little more involved in that, but
Joe Gibbs is like, hey guys,
you're buying our parts. How are you beating us? Share your information. And they just, I guess, weren't sharing information. I mean, the team was based out of Denver, Colorado. Okay. Not exactly Charlotte, North Carolina, where home base for NASCAR is. But
south.
Yeah. So they just kind of, everything that they do is just kind of like, they try to say that they're for the teams, but like, so the charter agreement ends at the end of this year.
Okay.
Before the playoffs started, which that's a whole nother episode for a whole nother time.
Oh yeah.
We aren't into NASCAR. It's they had a NASCAR announced to the teams, you have 48 hours to sign this agreement or you don't get a charter next year. So a lot of teams are sitting there saying like, oh, I signed in duress. Front Row and 2311 didn't sign from the jump. So there's a lot of moving parts that are going on and a lot of things that are happening where this is going to become a really big story. And the lawyer that they have is the same lawyer that helped get NIL to college athletes. Ooh. The same one who got the U.S. women's national team equal pay. So he knows he's pretty good at this. So it's going to be a fun ride for the legal side of NASCAR for sure.
Yeah, no, 100%. It definitely sounds like, and that kind of stuff, the background stuff always kind of interests me. So we'll definitely dig into the minutia of it for y'all, so y'all don't have to. It's a super interesting subject because anytime you get antitrust lawsuits involved, it's going to be interesting to see the way they roll, right? Because if they do rule in his favor, is it going to be a monetary thing for them to receive from NASCAR, or is it going to be okay, well, NASCAR, you have to help this league set up, you know what I mean, or take some of these oppressive policies down. It's going to be an interesting ride, Joey, but with any kind of lawsuit, I would not expect a resolution anytime soon.
Michael Jordan also put out a statement saying, everyone knows that I have always been a fierce competitor and that will to win is what drives me and the entire 2311 team each and every week out on the track. I love the sport of racing and the passion of our fans, but the way NASCAR is run today is unfair to teams, drivers, sponsors, and fans. Today's actions show I'm willing to fight for a competitive market where everyone wins.
Jeez.
They also, man. Bob Pockrass, who works for Fox Sports on Twitter, he's got tweet after tweet after tweet.
About this.
Curtis Polk from 2311 and Bob Jenkins from Front Row both said they plan to race even if they don't get the injunction to race as a charter team in 2025 while going through the lawsuit. Both teams plan to have 3 cars in 2025, although 2311 hasn't announced a third car yet. Right now they have 2 drivers. The 23 is driven by Bubba Wallace and the 45 by Tyler Reddick. I couldn't remember who he was for a second.
Bubba Wallace.
And then Front Row's in the midst of a driver change right now. They're number one driver was Michael McDowell, who won the 2021 Daytona 500.
Nice.
So it's going to be a lot. Like I'm looking, there's like at least 10 tweets.
Yeah.
So
it's
far.
Gonna be, well, I mean, I'm intrigued about it. I'm about to go do a deep dive after we get off, maybe after the game tonight, because I definitely want to follow up with this. Has NASCAR ever been really challenged like this?
Not really.
Because you had the USFL back in the day for the NFL. You had I know baseball had a bunch of stuff back in like the early days. And then you had the ABA. For NBA.
You'd probably have to go back.
Like we're talking pre-1960s.
19.
Well, I mean, that's still somewhat relative.
You had one point where like the drivers wanted to have a union, and that was kind of like a whoa, like, hey.
It's a little different. I mean, like an actual league that was set up to like actually compete. Because I know they had like, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So they compete for eyes with every form of motorsports, but their biggest thing is like right now, the reason that their races start so late is because they're competing with the NFL.
Oh yeah, of course.
They can't do Saturday night races because then they're competing with college football. That's why the season ends when it does. Like the last race of the season is the first week of November, but the first race of the season's back in February.
It's after
it's typically the week after the Super Bowl, and then it's right when college football is wrapping up, or right when the meat of college football is starting to happen. So, and they get one break in 36, 37, 38 weeks. You get 1 week off.
God,
so
crazy.
It used to be you'd have like the Daytona 500, 5 races, Easter off, 3 races, Mother's Day off, a few races, they'd race through Father's Day. The week before 4th of July, they'd take off because that's when Daytona's coming right back up. Go to August and then finish the season out.
So basically using our holiday schedule.
Basically. This year, it's a little different because NBC is the broadcaster.
Yeah.
They had the Olympics, so they took 2 weeks off for the Olympic break.
Oh, so that's got to throw it. Well, I mean, that's every 4 years.
So it's just
gonna everything.
Just gonna bring it a little later. If anything, their new deal now is they're gonna have 10 weeks. Fox is gonna have the first so many races until Memorial Day weekend.
About this.
Amazon Prime and TNT take the next 10, and then NBC takes the last 13, I think. Yeah, it's 13, 10, and 13.
Which, how wild is it that Amazon and TNT are just like, hey, yeah, we'll split these after Amazon just stole the NBA from them?
Well, TNT, they've always enjoyed having, like Turner has always enjoyed having NASCAR. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s,
I'm just talking about Amazon and TNT working together.
That clearly tells me that 2 different teams were working on that deal.
It has to be.
Turner had, okay, go for NASCAR. This is you. Meanwhile, it's like, oh, NBA's over here. Shit, what do we got to do?
It's still so. Yeah, I mean, it's just wild to me about how some of these, like, just the amount of money that's flowing around now, how different leagues are changing. Like back in the day, I guarantee Michael Jordan would have filed this lawsuit if he didn't feel like there was money to be made by getting out of these restrictions, right? But I'll be definitely interested to see where this ends up going. Is there anything else you want?
We'll have more to talk about it next week when more of this comes out.
Oh yeah, we literally just started talking about this, I think, like yesterday between the two of us. So
yeah,
we're still gathering information. We're still doing our due diligence, but we wanted to get this episode out. It's been a hectic last few weeks for us, but we want to get this episode out before the game tonight and then the season. I mean, the game on Monday for the Saints. We plan on recording a lot more for y'all, getting a lot more content out there. Probably around basketball, when more sports really get rolling in together, we'll have more than just once a week.
We may throw in a live stream randomly.
Live stream for some games randomly.
Possibly if we World Series if the Yankees make it.
Yes. If we can get the engagement going and everything like that, I'm all for it. Be on the lookout. We're going to start launching Instagram. We're going to launch Instagram for it. official Twitter is going to be coming down the pipeline. And we got a lot of exciting stuff coming that me and Joey have been talking about. But we really want to get this going for y'all and appreciate the people that have been sticking around and listening. Anything else to add to that, Joey? I know we kind of gave away some of our plans there, but
we don't need to hide anything. We're an open book.
Oh, I know, but I mean, we're gonna try to release it out, but we're doing a lot of stuff on the back end that we think is gonna be a little more enjoyable to watch and a little bit more exciting for us. But
we may get into
down a pipeline.
Video games. Who knows? I might do a NCAA Dynasty.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
in the middle of one right now where I'm Iowa, and
let us know in the comments what y'all want to see. If you want to see Joey play as Iowa for a little bit, I mean, that'd be great too.
I don't know. I might leave Iowa after the season if I win the national title.
Well, if you want to watch Joey continue his dynasty, whichever way it takes him, by all means, just let us know in the comments below. I can throw some Madden in there, some 2K, but just let us know, guys. We're here to entertain y'all and talk sports. Anything else you want to add, Joey, before we sign off for this evening?
Let's do it. I see Kirk Herbstreit and Al Michaels on TV.
All right, that's it for us this time. Until next time, reach out to the people you love. Tell them you love them. Hit those bets tonight, guys. Till next time. Later.
Deuces.